A week or so ago I went off on a small tirade, via text message, with one of my best friends of 20 years. Let me make clear that it was over something I was entirely justified for being upset about, and I was also justified in bringing it to his attention. That isn't the point of the story. The point of the story is that during our little back and forth, he said some things in his anger that he would not otherwise have ever said to me. Here was his message. That is rich coming from somebody who has been incredibly self-centered for as long as I have known him. I have given up time in my life to spend with you for 20 years. You always have to have your way. Be in charge and make decisions when we go on long wilderness backpacking excursions. Argue that you are right about every damn thing. Remember all those times at your apartment that I simply stopped talking, because you started yelling at me? You truly believe that you are never wrong. I have stood beside you when no one in their right mind would have. I have defended you. Put up with your shit, and kept my temper so as to not say something that might damage our friendship. Now, this really hurt. I mean, tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. If you've read my other articles, you know it took me about 7 years to rid myself of borderline personality disorder. I would not have reacted to his message 7 or 8 years ago with pause and reflection. I would have torn into him like a madman, probably destroying our friendship beyond repair. Or, I may have just erased him from my life, considered him unnecessary, dumped him, and waited for him to come crawling back to make it right. A lot of passive-aggressive behavior. Now, as a guy who has a few years of genuine recovery under his belt, his message hurt not because I felt under attack, but because I realized what I had put somebody dear to me through, and that I had been oblivious to his feelings. Here's how I replied. Jeff, I value these things you're saying, because nobody knows me better than you do. Frankly, without being told straight out, it is sometimes difficult to know which parts of my personality to work on. I wish you felt comfortable enough to talk to me like this all the time. I value your friendship more than any other I have. I'm not trying to berate you. You and I are good friends. If we stopped being friends today, we wouldn't live long enough to form any comparable friendships. I'm not trying to put a ding on what we have. I acknowledge and admit that everything you said about my nature is true, and I'm sorry. I also acknowledge that your patience with me, your overlooking all of those aspects of my personality for years and years, is also true. I appreciate it to a depth you'll never understand. As for me always bogarting my way on every backpacking trip, that's a new revelation for me, and I promise it's something I'll be thinking seriously about. I didn't realize I was doing it. Clearly, you are much more skilled with maps, direction, and scheduling than I am, of that there's no dispute. When things get tough in those areas, I look to you as the guy who can make the right call. If my personality hasn't communicated that to you, it's a fault within my personality I need to fix. So you see, I piss people off. That's never going to disappear entirely. Emotionally healthy people piss others off all the time. It's part of the human condition, not the borderline condition. This aspect of recovery can be difficult for some, distinguishing unhealthy borderline behavior from what is really just normal, healthy, human behavior. I'm satisfied with the way I handled the situation. I wasn't just saying the words. What he expressed has really been on my mind ever since, and I have been meditating over ways to improve the defects in my personality that he brought up. As I have intended to do for quite some time, I have finally created a private Facebook support group specifically for folks who follow my Quora articles. It is named the following: Brian Barnett, Borderline Personality Disorder.